into the right room. That's what I need, because I'm always just so far behind. So,
Not Dr.
anyway.
John.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today at this virtual Boulder Women's Leadership Group meeting. My name is Karen Cruz, and I'm the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer here at the Boulder Chamber. And it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this very timely topic, from divisive to inclusive, navigating contentious conversations. Wow, thanks for that early in the morning. That was a lot of words for me. Before we dive into today's program, I do just want to share a couple of announcements. Later, you'll be hearing from Lori Call, our Senior Director of Public Affairs at the Chamber, and she'll give us a summary of issues on the city and state ballots and a quick glance explanation of the Boulder Chamber's official positions. Thanks so much, Lori, for being with us today. Mark your calendars for November 12th at 6 p.m. We are thrilled to host the 36th Annual Esprit Entrepreneur event, celebrating Boulder's entrepreneurial spirit. This will be an online presentation, and at this event, we will also hold the finals for the Esprit Venture Challenge. It's a live pitch competition where startups compete for their chance to win $10,000 as chosen by the audience at the event. We will have prizes also for our online viewers, so please join us. The event will be free to attend, but you must register. Make sure to check out our website for additional details. Lastly, thank you everyone for your continued support of the Boulder Chamber. We know it's been such a tough year for so many, and we want to reiterate our commitment to you. Whatever your business needs, the Boulder Chamber is here for you, because as we say around here, business is happening safely. I'm now going to turn the meeting over to one of our wonderful volunteer co-chairs, Debbie Richards, with Turning the Corner. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Karen. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. As I was driving into the office this morning, I was feeling so grateful for what I have in my life. And I just want to put it out there that our thoughts and prayers are with all of those affected by the fires in Colorado. It's more important, or it's more imperative now more than ever, to reach out and help each other. So please know that the Chamber, Kristen and I, we're here for you. Reach out to us if there's anything we can do for you. If there's anyone that you know needs some help with the pandemic or the fires, please reach out to us. One of our goals of BWLG is to help women build their network to help support and uplift them on their personal and professional journey. BWLG is only able to grow thanks to the generosity of our local business partners. Please join me in thanking our 2020 sponsors who support BWLG through the Boulder Chamber. Our presenting sponsor is Boulder Medical Center. Our gold sponsor is BDO, Flatiron Bank, and Paraloom. Silver sponsors are the Boulder Area Human Resource Association and the Gourmet Kitchen. Our bronze sponsor is Plant Moran. Boulder Medical Center has been a presenting sponsor for wow, I cannot even say BWLG this morning. Good grief, it's gonna be a long day. They've been a presenting sponsor for us for 3 years now, and we have their new family medicine physicians who also happen to be married, Dr. Harold Johnson and Dr. Krista, and I'm gonna butcher this, Tumray?
It's fine, you got it.
Woo!
Yay.
With Boulder Medical Center. Our presenting sponsors are here to say a few words. So if you'd like to say a few words.
Yeah, sure. Good morning. So I'm Harold Johnson. This is Krista Tomray. We're both new family physicians with Boulder Medical Center. We practiced in Florida for 22 years, and we are thrilled to be here and part of this community. We're excited to be in Boulder. Krista grew up in Boulder, and this is the sort of group, meaning the Boulder Women's Leadership Group, that we're excited to be part of. We were active parts of the community back in Florida, and we're really eager to be part of the community here. So thank you very much for including us in this event.
Thank you. And we know a little bit about Boulder. Again, I grew up here and we trained in Denver with Rose Family Medicine, which is now defunct. But we were so excited to come back to this area. And Boulder is such a warm community and has so much to offer. And we're really looking forward to being part of that. And you know, these are crazy times between COVID and fires and all these awful things happening. And we're happy to be part of solutions. So thank you for welcoming us.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Lori Call. She's a Senior Director of Public Affairs with the Chamber, and she's going to give us a summary of issues on the city and state ballots and a quick glance explanation of the Boulder Chamber's official positions, which I know that they're going to have this on their website as well. If there's anything you want to share in the chat too, Lori.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much, Debbie, and thanks to the whole group. It's wonderful to see you. Lots of old friends. Welcome, Stacy. It's wonderful to have your head at the table. And of course, Kristen and I have known each other for quite a while too. And so it's fun to see you in this leadership role, Kristen. Thanks for everything you're doing for the Chamber. Before I launch into things, Maya said, could you cover the election in 5 minutes? And I said, that is going to be a challenge. And so I'm going to give you a high level overview, but most importantly, I'm going to direct you to some resources. As it turns out, we have an election coming up, and I hope everybody's aware of that. And it's an exciting one. I think it was Elaine who made reference in her personal song to the election. And so I know we're all watching it, maybe some of us with bated breath, and we've got a lot going on. Before I dive into the details, let me just acknowledge that we are celebrating the centennial anniversary of the women's right to vote this year. And so women had the right to vote in 1920. And it's astonishing to me sometimes that it took that long for this country to figure out that maybe we should have that, but we have it now. And so let's go ahead and use it. So most importantly is my message to you is vote, vote, vote. Interestingly enough, I know you have the challenging conversations as the follow-up to my piece today. And so on some levels, I think maybe the topic should have been flipped so that you can understand how to navigate the difficult conversations before you talk politics. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to give a high-level overview of some of the issues that we are looking at. And then if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. I know you've got a lot on the agenda today, and so I'm happy to work with Karen and Maya to follow up on any specifics that you might have after we wrap up today as well. So let me just start by acknowledging that we have the opportunity to vote for president this year, and so Donald Trump and Joe Biden are at it at the national level, and I certainly won't go into those politics, but would encourage you to vote for your favorite. In addition, Colorado is home to one of the hottest watched Senate races in the country. And so Senator Cory Gardner is a freshman senator. He's has been in his role for 6 years now. He's up for re-election. And John Hickenlooper, former governor of Colorado, has given him a run for his money. And so, a lot of polls are showing it very, very close. And in fact, the US Senate could move from being Republican controlled to Democrat controlled. And there's only a couple of seats in play, and this is one of them. So Colorado is being watched at the national level on a lot of levels too. In addition, we have 2 county commissioner spots that are going to be transitioning this year, and so that is a race that you should watch. Then, of course, the House of Representatives is always up for re-election every 2 years, and so you'll have the opportunity to vote at the federal level for your House of Representatives, as well as your state House of Representatives and Senator leaders. So that's kind of the overview of the races. Now let's pivot to the issues. Can you guys see my screen? Perfect. So let me just briefly walk through a number of the issues that we're keeping our eyes on. Most importantly, let me direct you to the Boulder Chamber's election website. And so Maya, maybe you could even throw this in the chat for folks. This can really be a resource for you as you have additional questions or are looking for additional information. Important to note that if you haven't registered to vote yet, it's not too late. And so go ahead And you can go to the Boulder County elections information for more information if you still need to register to vote, if you have questions. We also have a document called our Eye on the Ballot, and it's kind of a synthesis of our positions. And so I'm going to walk through those today. But again, if you want to circle back, if you're looking for more information, please consider this a resource. Okay, so first off, I'm going to talk a bit about Amendment B, which is the Gallagher Amendment repeal. This is a complicated one. I certainly don't have time to get into the details right now, but it repeals the Gallagher Amendment, which is an amendment that was added to the Colorado State Constitution in 1982. And really what's happened over time is that the commercial property rate has increased from essentially what was 1-to-1 to 4-to-1 over the last 2 decades. And in fact, it's slated to increase 5-to-1 with the current trajectory. Because of this, and because the Gallagher Amendment continues to erode funding for fire districts, first responders, you know, those functions that are so critical amidst all of the fires that are taking place. In addition, K-12 funding, you know, hospital districts, that type of thing. The Boulder Chamber, it supports the Gallagher Amendment repeal, which is supporting Amendment B. Moving on to paid medical and family leave. This is another state ballot measure, and it essentially has it's adding a tax to employers and employees throughout the state of Colorado to fund some paid medical and family leave. This has become an issue with coronavirus because we were certainly seeing some employers, you know, that didn't offer leave where employees were coming in sick. And so there are health concerns about that. And quite frankly, I know this is a women's group, and you know, there was a lot of concern about maternity leave. There are women coming back from maternity leave very early. You know, maybe they didn't heal fully. Certainly there's concerns about the children. And so that is another piece of it. The Boulder Chamber absolutely understands the importance of leave and the ability to keep sick people home, and also to, you know, have women and families care for newborns, you know, as well as caring for, you know, other family members that might be ill. Nonetheless, given the economic crisis that we're facing right now, the Boulder Chamber is very concerned about adding additional taxes to businesses and families that are struggling so significantly. So we did take a neutral position on this one. Moving on to the City of Boulder's ballot initiatives. The 2B is no evictions without representation. And essentially what the motivation is that folks were concerned that people were being evicted and didn't have legal representation to fight it. While that's absolutely admirable, you know, we understand that people who have representation tend to avoid eviction more often. You know, it does matter if you have a lawyer, and having evictions on your record is a challenge for finding housing going forward. The Boulder Chamber took a neutral position because we really didn't feel like the funding was going to the right cause. Rather than funding litigation, we really thought that it made more sense to fund rental assistance and to get at the issues around people really struggling during the economy that we're facing right now. Ballot 2C. Some of you may be familiar with the municipalization effort that Boulder navigated for the last decade. This is essentially an alternative with the private sector solution. So Xcel Energy is coming to the table and has a host of ways that it wants to work with the city of Boulder to address clean energy goals. The city has spent $25 million on litigation with Xcel over the last decade, and that funding hasn't been directed toward green energy solutions. It's been toward litigation. We really see this as an important step in addressing green energy goals and being able to do so you know, after, you know, this were to pass in November, we could start moving on actual programs rather than ongoing litigation. This is the 2D repurposing of the utility occupation tax is a complement to the Excel franchise agreement. And this essentially retains a tax that has been in existence for some time now, and repurposes it to fund a lot of the pilot projects that have been proposed as part of the Excel franchise agreement. So it funds the staff and matching funds that are going to be required at, you know, at the state level and potentially federally. And so we really see this as the complement to the Excel franchise agreement, helping Boulder realize clean energy goals. The 2E direct election of the mayor ballot measure asks the voters of Boulder to whether or not they want to directly elect their mayor. And there's certainly a lot of, you know, sides to this. Some would argue that the process, which is ranked choice voting, is imperfect. Most things in life are imperfect, but it's a pretty good alternative. And we really feel like this is a way to ensure that the community is, you know, specifically engaged in voting for the leader of the community, the figurehead of the community. Important to note that it doesn't change the role of the mayor. The mayor still has the same, you know, essentially job description that he or she does right now. But we think that it's a way with ranked choice voting, which is the mechanism that they're suggesting, you see a 10% increase in voter participation, and anything driving democracy and increased voters, you know, is often helpful as far as we're concerned. So we have election scorecards. Like I mentioned, we have our eye on the ballot. We also have a Boulder County Commissioner's scorecard, and we have a host of election events coming up, as well as clips from recent discussions. So we hosted John Hickenlooper, Senate candidate, last week. We hosted Senator Cory Gardner the week before, and you can view the videos on that, as well as further discussions on the local ballot initiatives, a deep dive that we did with Excel, and statewide ballot initiatives. So with that, I don't know if I overwhelmed you or underwhelmed you or exhausted you, but it is quite a way to wake up in the morning. So with that, I guess, Maya, Kieran, you know, any questions, any additional information that you'd like me to provide?
I thought it was really interesting, if no one's watching the chat, but ranked choice voting is also shown to elect more women.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
well,
good fact,
not only
Kate.
do we get more people out, but we get more women. That's got to be a good thing, right?
Always a good thing. Someday we will rule the world.
There we go. There we go.
Well, thank you so much, Lori. I think it was really informative.
Yeah.
I went to the chamber website this weekend as I was going through my ballot. So it was very, very helpful. And all of you people that are on the call, do not forget to vote, because I will know deep in my heart if you forgot to vote. Okay, I will come get you. It is now
Oh, I was just going to say, before I wrap up, I'll just put my my contact information in the chat if people have additional questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Lori. Now it is my pleasure to turn the program over to my friend and co-chair, Kristen Turnbull.
Thanks, Debbie. I am off mute. And just, I want to thank the chamber one more time for bringing Lori on here to talk about the ballot measures and the elections. We are a few weeks away from what is looking to be actually the most successful election if you're looking from a purely voting standpoint. In fact, the final debate between two of our candidates is coming up tomorrow night. Not sure if we're all excited about that, or if we're feeling maybe some, PTSD from the first debate. But I do know when I watched that first one, I kind of walked away with nothing but a lot of frustration and a lot of anger. And I just kept thinking, like, is this really what communication has become? Is it highly political, completely insubstantial? There's got to be better ways to both talk and listen in these conversations that allow us to still be authentic to our own beliefs, but also have respect for the other person, and be able to maintain our integrity. And so there was a little feeling of excitement after that first debate, because we had already been talking about this at BWLG. And we had found an amazing speaker to come and talk to us about this exact topic. And so I knew it was going to be very timely as soon as I watched that first one. So I'm very excited to be able to introduce you to Danielle Weksler. She's up here on the call. And Danielle's an executive coach and leadership evolution specialist. She's an entrepreneur and a lawyer. She's got 19 years that she spent working and is a senior level professional. And so she focuses on strategic coaching and group development for executive management and team cultures. Before she started her own company, Danielle was actually a practicing attorney within law firms and Fortune 100 corporations, including Capital One Financial and Roche Diagnostics. As an executive coach, she now works with senior leaders to develop their personal leadership style, integrating self-awareness, core values, talent, strengths, as well as business purpose and vision. She graduated with honors from both Washington University in St. Louis and the Indiana University School of Law. And she is a CPCC, and I'm going to have her explain what that acronym is. But certified by the Coactive Training Institute, one of the world's leading coach training organizations, and it's also the first accredited by the International Coach Federation. She's a certified practitioner and consultant for the Leadership Circle, which is a 360 assessment and leadership model, as well as the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument, which assesses and evaluates thinking preferences and communication styles. She used to work on the East Coast and live in the Midwest, but she now lives here in Boulder with her family, her 3 school-age kids, and her cardiologist husband. And when she isn't working, they really love everything about Colorado and Boulder: the skiing, the hiking, the biking, the camping. And so I'm so excited she's here with us. And big virtual claps for Danielle Weksler.
Thank you so much, Chris. Yeah, you don't really get the audience feedback when you're in the Zoom world. So very much appreciate that, and very much appreciate being invited to speak today and to facilitate with all of you. Quick question: raise your hand if you have a running argument with somebody. Few people, yeah. Raise your hand if there's somebody you actually choose not to engage with because you think it's just not going to go well. Yeah. Or you're not going to be able to convince them. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love what we talked about at the beginning of this, because with the election, with everything going on, there's just so many divisive conversations that we're having in our lives right now. And, you know, the reality is we have divisive conversations all the time, right? We always are looking at how to navigate some of those difficult conversations. What I usually, like to think about leadership, because that's what I do is it's relationship first leadership, right? So that's something that involves being in relationship and being in conversations. And my job is to bring out the best in people, and in doing so, bring out the best in myself. So this world that we're in right now is just increasingly polarized. We try harder and harder to convince people that we're right and they're wrong. And the more we do that, the more people dig in their heels, the more we do. And there are different ways to do that. As much as it seems like you're never going to get through to somebody who's difficult, or your perception is that they're difficult, I should say, there are different ways to do it. And there is hope that even if somebody isn't going to agree with you, you can be engaged in a conflict that is healthy and a conversation that actually feels resonant for both people. So rather than lecture you, we are actually going to practice it right now. We're going to just jump right in. So what we're going to start with is we're going to go into breakout rooms with 3 people, hopefully. And here's the assignment. You're going to argue. So 2 of you, and I'm going to give you a topic. Normally, you know, we might give you some time if we had more to come up with a really, you know, interesting divisive topic, but here's your topic. You're going to argue for 3 or 4 minutes. And it's about one side will choose that the biggest concern or priority during this pandemic is people's health and safety. And the other person is going to argue that the biggest concern or priority during the pandemic is the recovery of the economy. Now, whether or not you resonate with one of those sides, you're going to pick it and you're going to really go for it. And the third person is going to be our observer. Okay, you're really just going to notice what's happening in the conversation, what's happening in the argument. It doesn't really matter the side you believe in, but I just kind of want you to really jump in there. You're going to get 3 or 4 minutes to do that. We'll send you a little notification, and then I want you to take 3 or 4 minutes to share what really struck you about being engaged in that argument. We'll have the observer go first, what they noticed kind of from that third person place, and then if you each have some thoughts as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we come back together and move into, you know, how we can do it a little bit differently. So Maya, if you wouldn't mind putting us in breakout rooms of 3, if you do end up in a breakout room alone, please send a note to the host so we can reassign you. There's a chance you may end up with a room of 2, and that's fine. You just won't have an observer. So go argue, really just get in there, and we'll see you back here in roughly 7-8 minutes.
We'll send you a message a minute ahead to let you know. Okay, have fun.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm seeing that room 7 only has 2 people.
That's fine. We've got 2 folks that didn't join, so they're still here with us.
Mm-hmm. We
Anita
have
and Tatiana. Oh, there we go. Anita?
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
How do you
Yeah.
join? I'm trying to join, but I have not been.
There is a window. There should have been a window on your screen. I can move you. Hold on. I'm just gonna move you to room 10.
My
All right.
person was on a phone and dropped the call.
Oh God.
Maya, you can assign them. Yeah.
I did. Yeah. I just need to accept it. Okay. Then who's here? Let's see.
We have people maybe joining. Kate, were you able to join?
The person that was on in my room left, I think, or got dropped. Maybe this is them. I don't know.
Room 3. Yeah, you were. Yeah.
They were on a phone call or on a phone, and just
Okay.
I think also some people don't know how to unmute their phones because I think it's *6.
Okay, so I'm seeing that room 9 only has 2 people. Room 8 has 2. Kate, do you want me to move you there?
Sure.
Okay, let me move you. Okay. This person is
No, I'm
not.
trying to think who KG might be.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that phone number is who I was with before.
With Julia and Genevieve?
Or this person right here that I just. But yeah, add me to whatever room, or I can go with these 2 people that are just signing in now.
Yeah, that might be easiest, just to put the 3 of them together, Maya.
Newbies.
Well.
Right there. Okay. Hello, phone number 970. Oh. Yeah, and Danielle, I don't know if we've actually met in person. My name's Kate.
I think we did meet at the Zio event.
Yeah. I thought maybe that would have been the one time that we did.
Yes.
Okay, Kate, try that. I move you with them.
There's no box popping
With
up.
KJ. And then Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
Stacy, I'll move you there too.
They're still
Let's see
with
how
us.
that works. I wasn't were you taking track of the time, Danielle? What time did we start?
Yeah, 8:33.
And what time should we give them a message.
So at 4 minutes, so 8:37, we should say, please switch to discussing a discussion of the argument. Kate, I guess you're just gonna stay with us.
Yeah, I'll be fine. I'll hang out with the chamber crew.
Okay, 8:35, we send a message.
8:37, send a message that says,
8:37, okay.
yeah, says, please switch to discussing the argument.
Okay.
We got one more to add in there. Hello.
Now we have someone else joining.
I'm gonna move her to,
Yeah, you can just move her to one of the rooms. Suzanne, it's Suzanne.
okay.
And then I'm not sure who. Hi, Suzanne. And I'm trying to guess whose last name is Mullen. We're in breakout sessions right now.
Oh, sorry, I just joined.
Oh no, you're totally great. Totally great. Who is this?
This is Summer. I'm the executive assistant over at Boulder Medical Center.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for joining us. I think Maya will shortly have you directed to a breakout room.
Yeah, you should see a window, a message on your screen to join room 1. Summer, if you see that. And then I'm gonna send a message to everyone.
Great.
8:37.
And
We
Suzanne.
switch.
Mhm.
Switch the role. What? I'm sorry. What was the instruction?
The instruction is to switch to a discussion of the argument.
Perfect. Yeah, it's funny. I just this last week have one of my best friends that lives in Spain has a very different perspective on the pandemic than I do. And she just sent me this like essay about what I really don't agree with. And I was like,
Why your
wow,
perspective
I
is
haven't had to deal with people that don't agree with me in a really long time.
Okay, I'm here. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, please switch to what? Sorry, I'm here.
Yeah, please stop the argument and switch to a discussion of what you notice.
Okay, thank you.
They got a little longer. That's okay.
Okay, send that out. What's the next reminder? When is it?
Let's see. So if we kept on, that would be 7, 8, 9. So at 8:42, we should bring
Okay.
it back. Is that right?
Bring them back.
4 minutes. Yeah. So
So
you want at
at
8:40.
8:41, I want to send them a message. 1 minute.
Yeah. Well,
Or the 1 minute count starts when I close the rooms, right, Kate? Is that right? Okay. So 8:41, I close the rooms, and that automatically will let them know they have a minute.
okay.
Perfect.
So let me just see.
And then we'll do another round of 2 later on. You let me know, Danielle.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hi, Stacy. It looks like you are maybe getting kicked out or having some issues there. Maya, do you mind rerouting Stacy back?
Yeah, was she in a group? Let's see. Stacy, were you in a group or are you just joining for the
No,
first
Stacy
time?
was in a group, yeah. Yeah, Stacy
Which
was
group?
in a group. I think maybe just assigned to a random, unless you remember Stacy, which number, but probably.
Let's see, I can send you to room 7.
I never remember the little number at the top when it breaks me out into groups.
I know. I never do either.
Maybe next update of Zoom will be like colors instead of like bright blue when you join, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm in the blue group.
There you go. So we need different things for different kinds of learners. I know everybody next to numbers.
Yeah, it's like overtly obvious and associative. Like
I'm gonna get a tea. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Maya, actually, we have one more person. I think Pam. Well, Pam can join us.
Who is it? Okay. Move them to a room. Let's see, room 9.
I guess I might be able to do that. Let me see. Oh, here.
You're a co-host. You should be able to.
You go get tea, and I can do it. You're good. Hi,
Thank
Pam.
you.
Kate,
Pam,
can
are
you
you
also
on?
send messages or no?
Let's see. I can send. Let's see. Let's make sure. Looks like I don't know if Pam's actually there. Oh no, it looks like KG might be alone in a room. Hey, I can't actually move people. Can you move KG into a different room?
Yeah, to where?
I think any room.
They're all on 3.
Room 9. How about room 9?
Never mind. We're bringing them back now. So
This is always fun, right? This part.
I think it was because you and I, Danielle, were supposed to be in that room.
Yeah, that's why I said that you might end up in a room alone.
Yeah, which they could have exited. Who knows?
So they're starting to come back.
Oh no. Hello.
30 seconds to close the room. So welcome back. Welcome back.
We've got at least one room coming back.
Yeah, I think some people are like engaged in conversation. They're like, no, the 60 seconds. And then
I know. You get that 60
as fast as possible.
You get 60 seconds, either you're like, thank God, or you're thinking, I need more time. It's one or the other.
Sure.
Hello.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, here we go. Everybody. Welcome back. So how was that? I know that wasn't a lot of time, it never is. But I'd love to hear from a few people. Feel free to just unmute and share. You can always throw things in the chat as well. Zoom is that weird space where, it's silent when nobody says anything. But what's that experience like, doing it this way?
For us and my team, I think the biggest thing was that we realized that we didn't really argue. We just kind of heard each other out and realized that we had valid points. And that may just be both of our personalities in that way, because we both came in thinking we would be the observers. And so I think the biggest thing was just that we realized that it was okay to hear each other out without like getting aggressive, and just being able to understand both points of view and that both are important.
Interesting. Sometimes I wonder whether as women, we are particularly attuned to that way of engaging.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for our group. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. For our group, we realized that at least from my perspective, I was one of the two. We really didn't have an observer. I don't think we were really disagreeing. We had opposite goals, but I don't think those goals were actually in opposition to each other. I think that the way that she was coming at opening the economy and the way that I was coming at safety were actually two sides of the same coin that could be married to each other and still work together rather than being diametrically opposed. And as a result, we just had a more friendly conversation.
Interesting. I think I thought it was a super divisive topic. Maybe not. Interesting.
It may also be that I'm getting tired of the pandemic, and it's a little difficult to constantly really press on everyone needs to remain in their homes when that's not the state regulation anymore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anybody have a really heated version?
I have definitely had some pretty heated conversations over this whole thing, but it's been with people I'm very close with. It's been with my family members or my very close friends, people who, I know a little bit better, I think, and maybe I know my boundaries with. I don't think I would bring that kind of conversation into, not the conversation, but I don't think I would bring that kind of, intensity and really like attacking people into a professional setting.
Interesting. So when you think about how that conversation went with people that were closer to you, how did it feel different? How was when it got really heated, what did you notice in yourself?
I was very frustrated. My dad and I are like polar opposites on all of this stuff, and it's like we do not align politically, and and obviously that's really hot right now. And so, we have very heated conversations on this type of stuff, and I just find myself getting frustrated. Like, in my mind, it's so logical and it's so easy. Why aren't you seeing what I see? Why aren't you seeing what I'm telling you? And so I just find myself getting like super frustrated about it.
Yeah, that kind of like internal temperature goes up.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So if this wasn't heated for some folks, even just if you pull from your memory a really heated conversation that you had or that you were bringing to this today, I'm wondering how resourceful those conversations have been for you, and what's the experience of being in a really polarizing argument?
I had one where I'm sorry, was that an open question?
It was.
Okay. I had a situation, and it wasn't surrounding the pandemic, but it was surrounding the Black Lives Matter circumstance on social media. And I was kind of frustrated because of the stance that Starbucks initially took with not allowing people to wear Black Lives Matter pins and things like that. And one thing that I said, and I'm just going to say it openly, is that I don't necessarily support the Black Lives Matter organization, but I do agree that Black Lives Matter. And someone on my page came on and just went off. It's like, how can you say this, blah, blah. I'm like, I can say that I don't agree with the organization, but that I agree with their particular push to support African Americans and equality as a whole. I had just posted on my LinkedIn earlier today is that, I may not, we may not agree, but I'm going to fight to the right for you to say how you feel. And so I don't necessarily agree with people attacking someone for how they feel, right? I can say that you can disagree, and that's okay. But as adults, we should be able to say we can disagree, but we don't have to argue and fight. And that's just the stance I've always taken. I've always been kind of a non-confrontational person, but when it comes to how you feel about something, your feelings are how you feel. They're real for you. They may not be the truth, but they're real for you. So I'm okay with, fighting for your right to feel how you feel, but that doesn't mean that you have to be attacked for how you feel.
I love that. Yeah. It's a great point, right? Because the more that we're able to engage in these conversations in a way where it's not about getting the person to agree, it's about learning something, right? And being able to hear perspectives and also being open to what that perspective might offer for us. My guess is, right, whether this was a contentious conversation that we just jumped into or not for you, most people can think of one, right? Whether it's something in social media where people are completely, anonymous, or at least, a lot of times they are, or they feel comfortable enough to say something very divisive that they may or may not choose to say to your face. Similarly, we might be more comfortable to have those divisive conversations with family, but it's a different conversation when it's somebody that we don't know as well, or it's a colleague through work. But there's that feeling often that we're holding, which is we're just really irritated and we're really feeling the heat of the situation, and it feels like there's this imperative to convince this person to see our side of it. And in particular with elections, with the racial inequality that's going on, there's so many really hot button topics that we can get into that place with. So whether that's the pandemic for you or something else, I think there's a lot of common experience right now around that. The piece that we're really wanting to look at is how resourceful is a conversation where it's a must win, right? Or it's a win-lose type of outcome, right? For the people that are in the conversation. The impact on us is we're not actually able to learn anything. Folks get into that place where they are digging in their heels and they're not open to listening to anything. We like to think of, in terms of having productive conversations, we want to be curious, not furious, right? It's just kind of a tagline, but the idea of being in a resourceful conversation, and I hope that makes sense, resourceful conversation meaning how can we get to a place where we're both learning something, and even if we don't align, even if we don't agree, we're able to walk away from the conversation with respect, and we're able to recognize that this person has an opinion. It may be different than mine, but we can have relationship regardless of the difference in conversation or in opinion. So the higher ground that we can reach, the more likely we are to find something to align around. So it sounds like a lot of you had a conversation that felt a little bit like that. Okay, so I think that health and safety is the bigger issue. I think the economy is the bigger issue. But it's like if you keep moving up the mountain, you're going to find something to align around. I've heard, we did a similar exercise where we had somebody who was really arguing strongly for vaccinations for kids, and someone else who was saying, you know, I think vaccinations is a terrible idea and leads to all these different issues. Everyone's got studies, everyone's got their argument, but ultimately they moved far enough up the mountain, they were able to get to a place where we're actually both super interested in the health of our children. We want children to be healthy, right? And how we come at that and our opinions about this particular topic might be different, but how different is a conversation when you're both coming from this orienting principle that we want our children to be healthy. Like that's a place that's resourceful. That's a place to do that differently. So how do we do it, right? How do we get into that resourceful place? What I really want today is for you to walk away with at least some sense of how to reframe in the moment, right? So we can all get sort of intellectually the idea of, yeah, you know, have a good open conversation, but it's harder sometimes in the moment. So I want to talk about what happens, because I think it's important to understand what happens in our bodies when we're in divisive and contentious situations. Anybody familiar with this concept of the amygdala hijack? Has anyone ever heard of that? Yeah, got a couple of nods. So I may be telling you something you already know, but it's really, I think, just eye-opening to understand what's happening in our bodies when we're having these divisive conversations. This term amygdala hijack was first used by a psychologist named Daniel Goleman. He's kind of the founder, the author of Emotional Intelligence. His, I think, first book was in 1995. So emotional intelligence is kind of this buzz phrase, but it really is referring to this immediate, intense emotional reaction that is often out of proportion to the situation that we're in. You can think about it like we have our prefrontal cortex up here. This is where all the executive functioning lives, right? This is when we're rational, logical, we're thinking about, you know, what's the most strategic way to do this? And it's like, you know, when we're being, you know, the best parent we can be and saying, you know, Jimmy, it's okay to feel your feelings. And we're, you know, we're doing all those really great, intelligent, thoughtful things. What we have back here, which is where the amygdala is, this is, some people call this the primitive brain. This is the part of us that is where that fight, flight, freeze part lives. And what happens is when stress shows up, there's stress hormones, primarily adrenaline, and they do a lot of things to our body, right? So they're preparing us to handle danger. So your heartbeat increases, you know, you might have sweaty palms, all those things that also happen when we get into an argument. So what happens in our brain is the same if we are a caveman and there's a saber-toothed tiger coming towards us, as it is if we're in these more subtle situations where there's threat to reputation, to status, to our point of view. Our brain actually doesn't know the difference. We actually respond in the same way, and we lose the ability to get those resources from our prefrontal cortex. And because we're evolved as human beings, we get the advantage that other animals don't get, which is we can be aware that that is what's happening. So there's that moment, right, where when we are hijacked, where we can pause in the moment, we can take a breath, recognize, oh my God, I am hijacked, right? Somebody is arguing with me. They're, you know, you're wrong and I'm right. And how could you possibly vote for that guy? And how could you possibly, you know, have this particular opinion about XL energy or whatever it may be? And that's what's happening to our body. Our brain is getting hijacked, and we are not able to engage in that really resourceful conversation. So when we can bring our awareness to that, the fact that that's happening, we have the ability to shift it. When we're showing up in that way where we're really using all our resources, we're really able to be calm and engaged and curious, we're seeing the person that's in the argument with us as a person. right? This is a person who has opinions and history and their own triggers and events that brought them to this moment. So we can see them as a person. But when we're hijacked, when we're not able to engage with those ways of thinking, we see the other person as an object. And what I mean by that is they're an obstacle, right? They're an obstacle to, getting everybody in the world to vote the way you want to vote, or getting everybody in the world to see the pandemic that way. Or they could be an object because maybe they're irrelevant. And so we're not considering them, or they're a vehicle to get something that we want. And we get stuck in that place. This concept of looking at somebody as a person or looking at somebody as an object comes from a book called The Anatomy of Peace by the Arbinger Institute. And it's a great book, just in terms of if anybody is interested in this beyond this, but it's that idea of how do you engage when we're triggered, when we're in that place. If we can see somebody as a person, we can get really, really curious. We can get really ready to learn. And when we know that that's the way we want to engage, we can be intentional. When we're hijacked, we often will get stuck in one of 4 boxes. I'm going to share my screen here for a second just to show you what this looks like from this book. So these are the boxes. So when we're hijacked, right, we're looking at this person as an object, they're a problem, then we get stuck in one of 4 places. One is, I am better than, right? I am better than this person. I would never say what they're saying. I would never think what they're thinking. I'm superior. It can be sort of this competitive place. There's the I deserve box, right? We've been sitting in a meeting where it's like, well, I'm the most senior person, here, and I really deserve to be treated with more respect. There's sort of this resentfulness, right? That can often happen. So we're in the I deserve box. There's the must be seen as box, which is, let me tell you about my resume. Like, not only am I going to try to convince you of this, but let me also give you enough information so you will see me the way I want to be seen. And then there's the worse than box, right? That's that place of, just sort of disengaging because, I'm not going to be seen as, or I'm broken, I'm deficient, everybody's against me, or they don't care about me. And what's going on, right, is whatever way our brain is engaging with it, we get stuck in this place and we're not able to engage with this person as a person. If I'm in that place of I'm better than, then this person in front of me is an obstacle. They just are. And so how resourceful is the conversation when the lens I'm looking through, the entire way that I'm engaging in this conversation is, I am better than you, right? I know that. I wouldn't say it, but I know it. How resourceful is the conversation when we're coming from the place of entitlement, right? Resentment, whatever that is. So what's kind of cool about this is, again, bringing your awareness. Oh, right. I am totally hijacked. I see it. I feel it. It's in my body. My breath is getting faster. It's that place. And now what box am I stuck in? Okay. Yeah. I'm disengaging. I feel like no one's going to listen to me. I'm in that worse than box. I see it. I feel it. That's the place of shift, right? That's the place where we go, this person in front of me is a person. Like that. It's just as simple as that, right? They are somebody who had a reason for believing what they believe. I don't have to agree with it, but I can get curious about it. I can try to understand, what's the place that they're coming from? What's the reason that they are where they are? And so that's the sort of generation of the way to get into a different mindset in order to then be ready to really shift the conversation. When you see somebody as a person, you recognize their uniqueness, right? They have flaws. They have qualities, desires, hopes, doubts, right? That even though they may not be the same as ours, there's a richness to them. So we can get curious about what that is, what led them to the opinion they have, or the place that they're in, as opposed to, right, seeing somebody as an object, because that's depersonalizing them. There's a lot of ways to do that. One is we can reduce them to a category. This person's rich. This person's a Republican, right? We just sort of put them in a category. That depersonalizes. We can say they have a role. This, the the customer at the store, the politician, or just simply like a particular quality they have. You know, my neighbor is a jerk. That's their quality. That's who they are. You've depersonalized them. So how do we then shift, right, to looking at that person? So it's take a deep breath, think about how to engage with curiosity, and ask yourself, what can I learn here? Ask yourself, what are this person's challenges? So rather than necessarily being about winning, it becomes about what's brought this person to their view and what can I learn? I'm not actually in this conversation to prove something, because how often, right, have you been in a conversation where someone is in attack mode, right? They're telling you how much you're wrong. They're telling you how you're just crazy to have your point of view. What are the chances in that moment you're going to go, oh my God, you are so right. Yes, I am an ass, right? Like, you're just not going to be in that place to engage. It's how do you get people to engage? It's you find the value in the idea that that they're bringing, right? So someone said 0% chance, right? Yeah, exactly. So a couple little things that we can do in the conversation, right? We want to move it to a high enough plane, right, where we can find the thing we align on, whatever it may be, however small it may be. If you've ever done any improv, you know the idea of yes and. Anybody know that? A couple of nods. Yeah, right. So the idea of yes and is, how do I build on what's here? So we ask a question, right? So I'm curious, help me understand, right? So what's brought you to this, you know, way of looking at this? Or if I were to walk away with one kind of nugget from this kind of back and forth, what would you want me to know? Like, what would be most important for me to understand? They're highly curious questions. They're not yes or no. They're really highly curious questions. And then when someone offers you something, when they engage and they give you something, again, you don't have to agree with it. So don't misunderstand, right? They offer you something, and we can use the idea of yes and. So they say, well, you know, I just, for me, my dad is owns his own bakery, and I see how hard he's struggling. And so I'm watching this, and that's why the economy is so important to me. Then we say, yes, that's such an interesting point. And my family has had some health issues, blah, 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 blah. So what you're doing when you do the yes and is you're finding value in the idea without agreeing, right? You're acknowledging the thought. And it's the idea of what you say has validity and also what I say has validity, right? So someone, you know, says something, you know, I think Donald Trump is the best, smartest businessman that's ever walked the earth. Huh. So I hear you say, you know, that Donald Trump is an incredible businessman. And I think that Joe Biden, blah, 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 blah. Right? So when we say but, which is our favorite thing to say when we're in an argument, we can say all kinds of great things about, you know, the other person's opinion. But as soon as we say but, you've just negated whatever acknowledgement you made, right? That's just, and it's sometimes on a subtle level, right? We may not even really be doing it consciously. We think we're doing that great sandwiching, right? You know, when you give feedback of like, I really love that you're so engaged with the team, but, you know, you're not turning your timesheets on time. So what we've done with that but is like, I said this nice thing, but what I really want you to hear is how you're wrong. So it's that forget what I just said. Yeah, I love this Dr. Phil thing. So with the yes and it takes practice, right? Someone offers you something in the conversation, find a way to either agree if you can find something to agree. If you can't, you just acknowledge it. Okay, so what I hear you saying is, you know, Donald Trump's the smartest businessman you've ever known. So you're not agreeing. You're actually not making any opinion about what they've just said. And then you're adding your own valid thought. The idea is you want to bring out the best in this person and in this discussion by having them let their guard down, right? It's not about necessarily the facts or the position, but it's about honoring the person, showing them that you're listening, that they're not the obstacle, they're not a problem. There's somebody who has a particular way of looking at something. So what we're trying to do there is create a less defensive way of being in the conversation, because what people need is an invitation to the conversation. And at the end of it, even if you walk away not having convinced them, it's a conversation where both people felt seen, they felt heard, and there's a different emotional feel to that than walking away with both people dug their heels in and we're really stuck in that box of like, this person is crazy, you know, I can't believe they wouldn't listen to me, I deserve better than that, forget it, right? what good does that do, right? Bring out the best in them and recognize that they're a person. It's so basic, right? It's so simple. It is not rocket science, but trying it that way. Any thoughts, comments? I know we've got a few in the chat, but does that resonate? Does that, give me something.
I think there's so many people that are doing this kind of discussion or argument online now, that we may not be in the same room or even on the same Zoom, but having an argument while you're typing a text to them or something, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or is it just me? Which it could be.
Yeah. How do you engage in a conversation when it isn't live?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then I think people are avoiding these conversations in person because they either don't want to offend or they don't want, it's like, I know I went into this exercise and I was kind of like, I got a little bit of anxiety because I can argue both sides. I've seen enough on Facebook alone to have arguments on both sides at this point, but I don't want to offend this person and I'd rather just not talk about it at all. But then, and instead, let's go argue about it on some sort of virtual space where I'm not necessarily offending them to their face.
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back to that idea of kind of, with social media or anything else, it's a lot easier to say things sometimes that way than it is in person. We're losing that skill. I know it from my children, and I see my teenagers, they were already losing it, but it's even more and more difficult to think about how to engage in person. But so, I think the same things apply, right? In a different way. When we get something that comes at us that triggers us, let's say through a social media post or a comment, and I've seen it, I'm sure you all have, where it goes back and forth and it's really contentious, and someone will sort of pop in and go, I think that's really interesting, and thank you for sharing that, or whatever it may be, right? We've kind of seen a shift. So how do we step in, right, and do that and be that voice that's like, look, we are all people that are coming to this with different ways of looking at it. We can still engage that way. It doesn't have the flow, right, of a in-person conversation the way that we're talking about here, but it's still there, and it's that moment to call out what's in the space. That's another really like super kind of just very easy thing to do, whether it's a live conversation or online too, to say, so what I'm noticing in the space right now is a lot of defensiveness, right? Or what I'm noticing in this conversation is, we're kind of both digging in our heels. There's something also really powerful about kind of bringing us up to that kind of higher level of just articulating what's going on. And sometimes that's just this sort of you just kind of feel it in the space. When you name it, somebody can go, yeah, totally defensive. Yep. Or I'm hijacked or whatever, if they're familiar with that as a concept. And when you name it, when you articulate it, or also even more powerfully for ourselves, it brings a different kind of cooperation and co-creation into the conversation. I do that, sometimes, right? I'll have a conversation with my husband and I'll say, I notice that I'm feeling super defensive in this moment. I'm just, I just got to take a deep breath. And just naming that I am aware I am not showing up as my best self in this moment is powerful to the other person. Because again, it's an invitation. Oh, okay, you see it too, right? You see that you're not showing up as your best self. So rather than being angry at you and trying to, I'm better than you and you don't see how defensive you are, you just named it. And that just diffuses a lot of it. And we're both invited back in, right? We're both invited back in, even though it's a disagreement, right? It's a healthy conflict in that way. Any other thoughts?
I really liked what you shared about labeling or depersonalizing people, like this person's a Republican, this person's a Democratic, or this person's this supporter, or this person's that supporter. I think that's a really important part to bring it back to connecting them as a person instead of, it does. It takes that human element out and it puts them into a category. And I think, that was a huge takeaway for me in terms of observation of we almost do that so subconsciously in all these different areas of our life that's a good, a good reminder that's I forgot, what was the word that you called that? What did you call doing that?
Yeah, so it's seeing someone as a person or an object, right? And when they're an object, they can be like an obstacle. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
No, that's a great, because that's that place, right? We get stuck in one of those boxes, and it's like this person and their point of view and their whole category of people, they're the problem. And so there's a total depersonalization then. And so not only are we fighting with that person, we're fighting with anybody who's ever associated with that title or role.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, great. So we're going to actually go into pairs this time. So hopefully that will work better than threes. Did you all get the worksheet that was sent out ahead of time? Some of you, okay, if we can, Maya, if we can throw it back into the chat, it's
at the top. Let me just reshare with you guys.
So whether you use it or don't, it's fine. Basically, what the idea is taking a disagreement that you've had in your own life and thinking about a couple of lines of dialogue back and forth, like 4 or 5 lines. What did I say? What did this person say? If you did it ahead of time, great. If not, then when you jump into these breakout rooms, you can take a few minutes to think about what that conversation that you want to play with might have been. So either look at what you have or bring it to that. And what you want to do is just have a conversation in pairs that rethink, right? What is the way that I would want to do this differently? Like now that I'm thinking through some of the things we're talking about here, how could I be inviting to this conversation, right? What was my mindset and how would I be able to be more curious, ask some curious questions and just have a conversation about that. Let's see, we have, if we can just take like, I know it's not going to be enough, I get that, but if we could take 3 to 5 minutes and just kind of have a little discussion and maybe make some progress towards thinking through a difficult conversation that you know you have either had in the past or is coming up, I think it could be a useful takeaway. So if we could just jump really quickly, I know we're short on time, into pairs. Maybe. Are we able to do that, Maya?
Yes. Hold on. Yes.
Okay.
So groups of 2.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's try this, guys. Okay, try that.
Thank you. See you in a few minutes. Maya, will you just check that whatever room I was assigned to, that person isn't alone?
Yes. Danielle. Okay, Carol is alone. So let me see who has 1 or 2. Perfect. I'll move her here. Okay.
Okay. I know we're getting short on time. How are we doing?
Let me look. Give me just a sec. Okay, everyone is in pairs. Perfect.
Looks like
except for Summer. Summer, are you still here with us? She might not be there, but okay, schedule.
How much flex do we have at all?
Yeah, so we were hoping to be back at.
Oh, Celeste is back. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I ended up in a group with, I mean, they were there, but they weren't there. So I'm not quite sure what happened.
Let me move you, Celeste. Okay, I can move you to group 1. Let's try this. Rachel, group 1. Yeah, try that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's see. So you start your closing in around 9:15.
Celeste is still here.
What's that?
Celeste is still here.
I moved you, right? To room 1. Do you see it?
Nope.
No? With Rachel? You're there. You don't see the window?
Nope.
Okay, great. Okay, try that now.
Can you manually move her rather than have her accept it?
I am doing it manually.
Oh.
So the fact that she doesn't see it, that's why I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's not popping
You're
up.
not seeing a thing. So I move you to room 10. Do you see that?
Nope.
Do you want to close your window, you know, make sure it's not behind it or something? Do you have something on top?
That's my only Zoom window I see open.
Okay. And then if I move you back to 1, you don't see that either?
Mm-mm.
Well, it's unfortunate.
Sorry, ladies.
No, I'm sorry you're not in there having a conversation.
No worries.
Okay, well, you can be part of our conversation. As I think about
okay, sure.
logistical things, just what you wanted to talk about. So yeah, how we should probably bring them back soon, but how much flex do we have at the end here?
So you should be starting wrapping up soon in the next 4 or 5 minutes for closing for Debbie. I think she can do closing at 9:25 or so. So
okay. Well,
what time do you want me to close this?
Give them another 2 minutes and then we'll bring everybody back and
okay.
Quick close. Oh, we have Ella is back. Oh, maybe. So in the last minute or so, Celeste, did you have a conversation you were going to try to bring to the discussion?
Yeah, I operate from a very curious place in terms of just people, and you know, my industry is massage therapy, so honestly it's challenging for me to be like in a strong opposition, because I just like, I want to know what people think in about that way. But in the previous conversations, you know, when it was about health and economics, you know, like I'm so split, like I really can see both sides, because I own a company that provides health for people that needs to keep people safe. While at the same time, economically, it has to support the business in order to support other people. And so, you know, I oftentimes in my own self, I'm very sort of like tied up, and it's hard for me to come from a stronger position with people, which, you know, I feel sometimes makes me seem a little like maybe wishy-washy or something. I don't know, you know, but that challenge is true. I think the argument comes up with employees and safety for them in the workplace, and economics. So less about safety for our clients and taking care of them, because that's just what we always do, and more safety for our staff and taking care of them, because that's the same argument dynamic, right? Of like employees being safe while the business needing to stay open. So I think that would, you know, that was kind of like my intention, would be more employee workforce and safety and economics, like where I stand.
Yeah, so it's not something where you've found yourself particularly contentious, but just it's good to continue that sort of curious approach if you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you. And sorry you couldn't join the group. Do we have everybody back? Everyone's coming back, it looks like. Welcome, welcome. I know that was short, it always is. Hopefully you got to dive in at least a little bit on one of the difficult conversations that you have had or that's coming up for you. I'm hopeful that there was some piece that we talked about today that if it didn't, you know, shift your way of thinking, it maybe gave you an idea or two about how you could come into some of these divisive conversations, ways that you can create more invitation to be looking for common ground with those that we don't always agree with. Remember, it's an invitation. Remember, coming from curiosity, that's the biggest piece. And how is this person a person and not an object? I am going to just throw in, that's my email address, and anybody has a question or a follow-up of any kind, you're welcome to reach out. And also, I think someone asked about the book. It's called Anatomy of Peace. I just put that in the chat as well. It's by an organization called the Arbinger Institute. If you're interested, it's a great book. It's super easy to read. It's written like a story, talks a little bit about those boxes we get stuck in, and definitely dives in quite a bit more into these concepts, and talks about also like ways you can shift those things. So a super useful resource. So it's been really fun to be with you. I'd love for everybody to just just type a quick word into the chat of like, what are you taking away now? What's a thought you have about something you might shift going forward out of this conversation today? Encouraged, fantastic. Bringing out the best in others, fantastic, good. Yes, and, okay, great. Keeping on the yes and, understanding other people's perspective, open to listening, wonderful. I think it's that common ground, it's really, really powerful. And when you're in a conversation, even if it's a contentious one that looks a little different, you'll really feel it. You'll feel the difference. So it's been really fun. And like I said, please reach out, and thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Danielle. So great. I love the yes and. I'm going to use that. I'm not really fighting with anyone right now, but I'm going to call someone from this group and we're going to fight. Okay. So I can use my new terminology. So we're going to close this program. I think that we were going to try and give away a session with Danielle. We didn't really talk about that, but Maya is going to pick somebody, and hopefully by the time I'm done, then we can announce someone. We're going to close this by thanking our sponsors, our presenting sponsors, Boulder Medical Center, our gold sponsors are ACM, Flatiron Bank, Paraloom. Silver sponsors are Boulder Area Human Resource Association and the Gourmet Kitchen. Bronze sponsor is Plant Moran. I'd also like to thank the Boulder for pulling this virtual meeting together today and allowing us to connect. I don't know about you, but I need to be more connected with people during these times. So I really personally appreciate every single person on this call. So stay in touch, let us know what you need, and remember, we're all leaders and we're all better together. Our next BWLG session is Wednesday, December 9th, and we have something really special planned. You won't want to miss it. So Kristen and I can't wait to see you then. And we just picked someone, it looks like. Karina Salcido. I'm sure I screwed up your name, but she's the winner, and she will get a 1-hour session with Danielle. I'm so jealous,
Cool.
Karina.
I'm excited.
Ooh.
I'm excited. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome.
Karina, I'll be in touch with you to put you in contact with Danielle. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I wanted to do a last call if anybody that's still on wants to put their LinkedIn into the chat and to follow up with folks that way, and make sure to write a little message to each other that you met or saw each other here, so you know where they're coming from.
Definitely.
And I leave the session open for the next 5 minutes. So if you want to stay around and connect, you're welcome to. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mae. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Sunita. How are you?
Good. How are you, Debbie?
Good. So nice to see you in person.
Yep. Likewise.
Excellent.
Really enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad.
And I'll stick around too if anyone has questions or any further conversation you want to engage in.
Danielle, thank you so much. That was great. And the squares, that sheet, loved it. I think many people were on the chat like, I love this, I agree. So thank you so much.
I should have put that in there. I didn't think to.
Can we include that in the email going out, and then the book? And so if you could send that chart, that would be great, because we put that in the
Danielle,
follow-up.
send it to me and we send the thank you email and we can include it there.
I also wrote down all of the songs that people put in, so it can come with a playlist.
Okay, just send it to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
I definitely screenshotted the boxes because
Kristen, I did too, because I didn't want to miss it. Kristen, can you write a little thing about the music, because you're such a great writer, and get that to Maya? So
I can do that.
I knew that. She loves to write.
I do. And is your hair appointment on Friday morning, Debbie?
Yes, it is 7:30.
I'm going to see you there at 7:30. I moved mine up.
Seriously?
Just so we
Wait,
can
where are you? Do you both do your hair at the same place?
We both go to Andrea's.
Ooh, way to support another member. Women owned.
Yep.
I love that.
Well, she's only in the chamber because I forced her to go to the chamber and sign up.
Debbie's good at that.
I love that. Well, I rotate between all the different hair people that are chamber members. And she wasn't the most recent haircut, but the one before that. So
you're a better person than I am because I have no hair and I am so afraid that somebody is going to screw it up.
Yeah, that is one of those things that if I find somebody, now I will keep going as long as humanly possible.
Yeah. And then when they're old, they're going to come to my house.
We actually did a family haircut day where there's one woman that I met through my brother's high school girlfriend now does hair. And she's been doing my parents' hair forever. And she came to our backyard and did me, my sister, my parents, my nephew, my brother-in-law. There was 6 of us in a row and it was adorable.
That's awesome. What a great idea.
I hadn't thought about that because that would be an easy way to hire someone to come to your house and do everyone's hair.
Totally. And she charged us less because she didn't have to do all the fancy stuff. She didn't blow dry it. She just kind of, and we ended up probably paying her the same amount just because we love her. But
that's a pandemic haircut right there. Just outdoors.
Love that.
I'm realizing Carissa, I think, or I don't know, is that how you say your name? I don't know you in terms of everybody on here.
Yeah, no, I'm with Zao, so I was.
Cool. Welcome.
I haven't had a chance. I'm actually in their Denver office, so I haven't had a chance to make it to your meetings, but I enjoy I've seen the topics pop up a couple times, so I've been wanting to.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Zao had a good showing today.
Yeah, I saw the list, the sign-up list. It looked like we had quite a few, so.
Loved it.
Danielle, I just had a comment about the breakout sessions. One of the things that came to light is just, the looking at other people and that they're not objects. And then I've gotten to experience a lot of rejection in my work life just because I'm in the creative services. And so you're always giving things to people and they don't like it and you have to come back and do it and that kind of thing. And I think one of the things that I've learned is that I'm not attached, that my ideas are not me. And so I just crank ideas out there and then I put them out there. And as soon as they're out there, I just let go of them. And then that gives that person, an opportunity, like my boss, it gives them an opportunity to just reject or it makes me more curious just to let go of those ideas as soon as, they're in the common area.
Interesting. Yeah.
Good idea.
It's not part of your identity, right? It's something you generate versus it being you. It's not your worth in and of itself. I love that it makes you more curious. So I'm guessing there are times where something is rejected, as you said, or doesn't, go the way you want it to. And then it's being able to switch to that place of oh, interesting. Okay. So
exactly. Yeah. It happens every day.
That's a great.
Aren't you lucky to get to practice that all the time? Or that was.
I get to go give it to him and give it to him. And that's fine. I mean, I learned so much in that way.
Mm-hmm. Do you
really get to know their preferences and what they like or what they really want to see? A lot of times it's not that it's the quality of the product. It's more that, well, that doesn't really get my idea across. And so, okay, well, what are your ideas? Let's go deeper into that.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering whether over time that's gotten easier. Was there a time?
Oh,
yeah. Really?
Yeah. Then we're on the same wavelength now, but yeah, about the first year, it was challenging and fun, Yeah.
Everyone, sorry to cut the conversation, but I need to close this session because I have another meeting scheduled here. But thank you everyone for coming. We'll see you next time.
Nice to see you, ladies.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.